Okay. Bob, what if you had to describe this to a friend or your girlfriend who apparently has not seen this because apparently you leave her alone in Florida to go watch the movie, an empty theater, as you put it, to go see this movie, how would you describe it to her?
That's a great question. I would describe it as a comedy movie with a lot of action, as opposed to an action movie with a lot of comedy.
I think that's well put.
Actually, that is very well put.
Yeah. All right, moving on.
Too bad he did it so short.
All right, podcast over. It's great talking to you guys.
45 minutes of prep for that one sentence.
Yeah.
No, that's a very good way to put it, I thought.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
that is.
yeah,
It is.
definitely.
It did definitely have some comedy elements to this. There was a lot of comedy-based elements used in this movie.
Yes.
It was definitely comedy-based because there was things set up for jokes. There was things done to set up jokes, which is what comedies do.
Yes.
Not necessarily action movies.
Right. And with the action movies, it's, you know, the comedy isn't a focus. They don't have certain scenes, like you said, that are setting up a joke, you know, a long running joke. It's mostly just kind of more the dialogue in an action movie that makes it funny, or sometimes a scene. But, you know, like Deadpool, to me, is an action movie first and then a comedy second.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think most of the Marvel films are like action movies first and then comedy second through the dialogue. But I think that's what makes Guardians of the Galaxy so unique, is that I think actually it's the inverse. It's a comedy movie with action, that just happens to have action in it.
So, to me, this movie, when Shane and I kind of talked about this a little bit on our Instagram, we kind of felt this one was a much better told story. I'm not saying it's a better movie. I'm just saying the overall story, how it was presented to the audience, the characters, the influence of the movie was actually a little bit better than the first one. Would you agree with that, Mike? Mike?
Oh, I most definitely would not agree with that. This is going to be fascinating. You feel this way. It's going to be a good podcast then, where we have two different...
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's kind of what we were talking about, you know, when you said that you were going to come into this, because I remember you liked Rogue One a little bit more than we did, I think.
Yeah.
And to just kind of delve back into that, I've watched Rogue One a couple more times, and I'm like slowly been increasing my scores, because I remember yours was like a 4.2 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then
Fuck, you remember that?
because I remember he's like, ours was high 3s, and he's like, holy shit, really? I thought you guys would have liked it a little bit more. But anyway, so it's always good to have a different dynamic, and you know, and so that'll be good. So what, I guess, a quick transition, what was your thoughts of Guardians of the first Guardians of the Galaxy? Just quick thoughts.
Yeah, the first Guardians of the Galaxy, absolutely loved it. I think they hit like the nail on the head with like perfect balance between, you know, comedic moments, whole scenes that are just devoted to comedy, but also like real action with like real consequences that, you know, is very suspenseful. So I think Guardians of the Galaxy 1 hit that balance perfectly. Whereas in my opinion, I think Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I think they went a little too, like, in my opinion, a little overboard on the comedy, which kind of maybe ruined some of the action for me.
No, yeah, I can see that. I'm pretty critical when it comes to the comedy, especially in Marvel movies. Doctor Strange was one of them for sure, where it just constantly took you out of the moment. For some reason, it works for Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know if it's because you have a tree that talks,
Triangle faced.
yeah, and then you have, you know, a talking raccoon who cusses and stuff, and then you know it's more space oriented, so it works for me, and even though a lot of the humor fell flat to me in this movie, as Matt said, I felt the story was a lot stronger, and I could connect with the characters a little bit better. One of the things, we haven't really done like a retro review or anything on the first Guardians of the Galaxy, so this is a good time to bring it up, but I had said on a couple of our previous podcasts that Guardians of the Galaxy I loved when it first came out. First came out of the theater. I watched it several times then, and then, you know, I gave it however long it's been, a couple years since the first one came out, and I watched it again after, you know, there was like a time lapse, and it didn't hold up as much as I was hoping. I felt the end fight in Guardians of the Galaxy was kind of a letdown, and it didn't hold up as much. A lot of the jokes didn't hold up as much, in my opinion. And there was some action scenes and stuff, but I couldn't really connect with the characters as I did in this one. And so I think that's where the storyline for me, it holds up a little bit better in volume 2.
In the first one, I really love the first one. For a while, it's been up there for me. I love the comedy. I love the setup that they had for it. I felt that, and I also like the fact that it was so separated from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There wasn't so many tie-ins other than Thanos and an Infinity Stone.
Right.
And with the Volume 2, it's even more separated from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's almost no tie-ins other than the mention of Thanos once by a character. And so that's why I think I kind of like this one a little bit more, because the more separated they are from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the better. Because that was one of the things I hated about Doctor Strange, was like, oh, well, you know, that's how it is about an Infinity Stone. And like, they just had this Infinity Stone. They just had to throw that out there for shits and giggles and stuff like that. Oh, this whole time he's been wielding an Infinity Stone and turning time back. Oh.
Spoilers for Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Don't see that piece of shit. My score is getting lower and lower in Doctor Strange.
Yeah, exactly.
It's getting worse and worse for that movie for me. And they always kept plugging things in all the time with that one. It's like, oh, the Avengers, they protect us from physical danger. We protect from spiritual. And just, okay, who gives a shit? Stop bringing up the fucking Avengers and
to make your movie work.
Yeah, I didn't like that about Doctor Strange, but this one was just completely disconnected from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I love that aspect of it.
Sweet.
Thanks a lot.
No, I actually will say one thing, Shane. It's crazy. I remember the last time I was on the podcast, I agreed with you a lot and kind of repeated a lot of your points because I agreed with you. And what you just said about Guardians of the Galaxy not entirely holding up, I had that same experience. 2 weeks ago, I watched Guardians of the Galaxy with some friends before I watched the second one. And yeah, I just wasn't enjoying it as much. I don't know if it's because I just like maybe over-romanticized the past of like how much I had fun watching it the first time in the theaters, but just the second time didn't hold up for me, and I was like, holy shit, why am I not loving this? So it's crazy you had that same experience.
Yeah, there's certain movies I feel like that if you should almost just watch once or twice, and then you're like, okay, and then, you know, that's what it is in your mind. And for me, there's certain movies that I can watch over and over again, and the more I watch them, the more I love them. And a la Man of Steel, for example, because when I first came out of Man of Steel, I was like, okay, that was pretty good. And then I watched it again, and then I watched it again, and you know, every time I watch it, there's more that you learn from it. And with the first Guardians of the Galaxy, it kind of is what it is. It's very surface level, and you don't really gather a whole lot more when you watch it a second time. So or you know, several times and a couple years later.
Yeah.
So.
And a little bit more non-spoiler talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was the jokes that Mike Bob is talking about did kind of weigh on the movie a little bit. There were some that dragged on way too long.
Yes.
And I made notes of that when we get to the spoiler talk. There's at least 3 that I could think of later on when we left the theater that for sure they dragged on way too long. But I still felt that this overall, with the character elements and the story and what was actually going on and ultimately what did happen near the end of the movie, I felt it was actually a little bit more of a threat, and I actually felt that all these characters coming together and all their uniqueness that they have, and we got really flushed out on almost all the characters that we were introduced to in the first one and the new ones here.
Yeah.
I thought that kind of made it just a little bit better told story. Not a better movie necessarily, but a better told like story. Like if I was going to watch it for the plot and the story elements of everything, I would watch this one over the first one.
Yeah.
Another small non-spoiler thing, I'll see if you guys agree with me on this one, but the music. I thought the music in this one, because the Guardians of the Galaxy is known for the music, that first one. That Ooga Chaka, I still completely, even though I've heard that song several times before, I always connect that song to Guardians of the Galaxy now.
Right.
I always do. So, but this one, I cannot tell you a single song.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that, actually. They did have a couple songs, you know, because of the second tape that now all of a sudden he's listening to. I guess that was the gift at the end of the first one, right?
Right.
So he's listening to that one now, and there wasn't a whole lot of like standout songs that you know, like you said, you connect immediately when you hear them. You're like, okay, Guardians of the Galaxy. It was a little bit more underground feeling, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into too many spoiler talks, but you know, there's definitely some songs in there where you're like, wow, that's an interesting choice.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, for me, it wasn't the selection of the tracks. Like, I actually thought the songs themselves, like, in real life, are fine songs. But for me, what bothered me about the music with this one was that it was the use of the songs. I feel like almost the entirety of the movie, music was playing. And whenever music is playing, for me, then it's like I'm like in a safe space. Like, I know maybe like it's just like nothing major is going to happen with any of the characters or whatever. Or just maybe it's like a shit, what the fuck's that word? When like they speed up time, like shows a lot of shit happening in a short period of time.
Montage?
Yeah, montage. I was thinking of like holy fuck, I can't think of anything right now. What's this? What's the South Park? The puppet South Park movie montage?
Oh,
song?
Team America. Yeah, it's montage. Yeah, gonna have a montage.
Montage. You gotta clean all this up.
Montage.
Just, you can delete
No, I'm
this.
gonna leave it. I'm gonna.
God damn it.
I'm gonna leave it just like that. Are you kidding? You're gonna stumble. I'm gonna put us dead silent. We're just gonna let you.
Trust me, we do it to ourselves all the
Yeah.
time. He has a perfect song that he plugs in anytime we can't figure shit out.
Like the old Muppets. Do, 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 do.
What's
No,
that
no.
word for wet stuff? Oh yeah, water. No, like there's like music constantly playing, and I felt like I honestly felt like they were playing music too much, which like took me out of the moment a lot of times. So it wasn't so much the selection of the songs; it was like the use of the songs, in my opinion.
It was well to me. What took me out of the moment was like, really, that's the song you chose for that?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was like, wow, okay, that's kind of a little bit of an underwhelming song,
right,
a little bit compared to that first one. That first one, I mean, I almost bought that soundtrack.
right.
I
Yeah,
almost bought that, but then I was
I
like,
think you could.
nah, I could just look it up on YouTube anytime I want.
Yeah, that's true.
So I was like, nah, I'm not gonna really worry about it. But this one, I honestly, I can't. There's like one part where Peter and Ego are kind of singing a song or talking about a song, and I can't even think of what song it was. So that's
Oh yeah, they're talking about the best song ever composed on Earth.
yeah, and it's supposed to be this big deal, and it's a big part of it, and I can't even remember what song.
Yeah,
it was.
me neither.
Yeah, so that just kind of shows you what the music was in this movie.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else to add about the non-spoilers of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 or Guardians of the Galaxy 1?
Yeah, one last thing. I found. No, actually, I don't want to say it. I think it's a spoiler. So never mind. I'm not gonna say it. So no, I got nothing.
All right, holding on for. I know I was even like in my head wanting to talk about a couple things. I'm like, nah, that's a little spoiler. So
Yeah,
we'll-
but I think we kind of hit on the notes. This,
Yeah.
Shane and I believe maybe it's a little bit better told story than the first one. Bob is wrong and thinks it's not. And the music is a little lackluster in this one. Some of the comedy does pull you out, but this is a very character-driven movie overall.
yes,
I think we can somewhat agree
Yeah.
on that.
good
Yeah,
action.
yeah, I agree.
I would add.
Oh, and the action I thought was pretty solid.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that much action, to be honest, in this one. I mean, there were some parts, but there is a good span where there's like nothing going on.
Yeah.
There is almost nothing
Well,
going on.
when we get into the spoiler talks, there is a kind of a gripe I have that includes the action and stuff. But anyways, all right,
Gotcha.
moving along.
Okay, so now we're going to get into our spoiler talk of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So this is spoilers. If you want to stop the recording, go ahead. If you don't, who gives a shit? I don't care what you do.